Good morning, everyone. My name is Quarles, and I would like to welcome you all to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Pottstown. Welcome to all of you who came out on this beautiful day to join us in our sanctuary. And welcome to those of us who are online this morning, and welcome to those of us who are visiting us through the World Wide Web later on. Thank you so much for choosing to come and see us today. With all the choices we have for Sunday morning, I'm so glad you chose to be with us. And I'm also so glad that the snow was not tonight, it was not this morning, but was yesterday morning. That's always a good thing. So this morning we have music played by the lovely Pallay. We have text handled by Rick Dusky. Thank you guys for participating. For over 50 years, the UFP has been a liberal religious voice in the Pottstown area. And I'm sure you guys remember me saying that like every time I'm up here, but I really do believe that it's such an amazing thing that we can believe that facts are okay, and that facts don't mean that we can't believe in wonder and beauty and awe. I love the fact that we really care about our past. I know we had the UU 101 and UU 102 recently where we got to learn about our past. We care deeply about our past and about finding out what people before us thought, but it doesn't limit us to believing exactly what they believe. When new things come forward, we can choose to look and accept and figure out what's going on. But the most important thing, and the thing that never changes, is that here in this place, we believe that everyone deserves justice and compassion and to be treated fairly. So we hope that your spirit and your mind and your heart are touched when you come here today. And we commit ourselves once again to our 7 guiding principles. We come together Sunday morning, this Sunday and every Sunday, not because we share a creed, but because we share our purpose. We promise to support one another on our spiritual journeys. Our services are very different every week. I can promise you that no one else is going to be talking about pink ponies. But the loving kindness that we have in this room is the same. So whoever you are, wherever you are, whomever you love, we are so glad that you joined us today. And now it's time for announcements. If anyone has an announcement, please come on up, use one of the microphones so everyone can hear you, and remember to introduce yourself.
Good morning, I'm Miranda, and Emily, I'm going to tell you that it's this very day that we're offering 102. That's UU 102. That's the class. That's the history of not only UUFP, but also the movement of UUism on this continent. So we're doing that today at 12 noon. And it's a potluck Sunday, so everyone's welcome to join us for potluck at 11:30 after the service. Eat your lunch, grab your dessert, and meet me back in here. Anyone is welcome, and we'll have some fun. We'll eat your dessert. I won't eat your dessert, but you eat your dessert. I'll clue you in on the history that we're interested in and proud of.
This one's recording. Anyway, I'm John. So there was a blank service in your sojourner, but we'll have Darius Puff, who's been here before. He's a Lenni Lenape. Is very, very devoted to his heritage, and he'll be giving us a sermon. I don't know the exact topic. I'm sure we'll go through the Native American culture, which he studied and which he has come from. I suspect he'll bring many artifacts. The children, I'm told, will be here for the service, and it'll be very interesting to them as well. I found a great reading from Russell Means, who is an activist, but it just talks about the Native American culture and the respect for the world where we live. They really live our 7th principle. They did before we affected their culture. So please come one and all. It'll be a very interesting service, and will indicate our diversity in our spiritual growth.
Morning, I'm Clifford, and this coming Saturday morning at 10 a.m., I'm going to be doing a cooking demonstration right here in our little, actually nice big kitchen of some seafood chowders, both a tomato-based shrimp and corn chowder, as well as a cream-based fish and clam chowder. These are two of my signature dishes, and I hope everyone comes and fills up the place. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kay. I just want to add a little something to that. If you are interested in coming, could you send an email to member services at uupottstown.org? Go, yeah. So anyway, and then we'll know how many are coming, because we can only fit maybe 20 people into the kitchen. But we have spaces left, so it's going to be great. Anyway, I want to say today is UU 102. And if anybody wants to stay, we do have our people that went through 101. But if anybody wants to stay, just to kind of get another view of how the fellowship started and where we are today, you're welcome to stay. Thank you. Right after potluck, dessert and coffee in here.
I'm Lori, and these again are Izzy dolls or comfort dolls, meaning that they're made to comfort traumatized children around the world, and also indirectly the service people and the doctors who distribute them. These are made by UUFP members, and after potluck today, a potluck lunch, we're having a knitting circle. If you're interested in learning and contributing to this cause, we would love that. So, and if you're not going to UU 102, please join us in the social room. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Linda. And for those of you who don't know, I'm president of the board of directors here. One of the things that we are going to institute, even though we do post the minutes of our board meeting, and anybody can read it. And if anybody wants to attend just to observe, you're more than welcome to. We do it via Zoom. But we're going to start to anything that's sort of pertinent, we're going to make announcements about. So we had a board meeting yesterday. And the first one is what I'm calling an announcement for all ages, right? So that includes all the little ones here. And that is, we're grateful to have all of the children that are attending. I mean, it's just absolutely phenomenal. And while we offer certainly nursery attendance, we offer RE, we offer something for the tweens, we realize that maybe for some children, they just want to use this time to be themselves, not maybe participate in that or not sit through the service, which is fine. We welcome free-range children. We are just asking that if you're going to be a free-range child, if you are inside the building, that you not be disruptive to either the classes or to the service that's going on. So if you want to sit quietly, if you have an iPad or something, sit quietly, that's great. The other thing that is important is that we really reinforce there is no running in the building. We've got beautiful lands outside. You want to run, you feel the need to run, please go outside. Primarily because we're concerned about your safety, right? There are a lot of sharp edges, there are cords, you saw me almost drop on it. We want to keep you safe, but also at any given time, we've got other members within our family here, and not to point out Judy because she's sitting up front, but she's got a cane, right? And not that anybody would intentionally run into her. And we've also got, other people. So we are really going to try to reinforce that there is no running in the building. So thank you for that. The second is, again, as we have more people and more people volunteering, again, I'm grateful. We are looking to really reevaluate our committees and what falls within the jurisdiction of those committees. So what I am going to ask, nothing complicated, if you are a committee chair, please send to me bullet points. what do you feel falls under your committee? What is it that committee is accountable for, responsible for? Because then what we're gonna do is take those lists, have conversations across committees. Where's their overlap, maybe it falls somewhere else, we'll finalize them and get them up there. So it's just a matter of evolving where we're going with the committees. And the last thing is, UUFP is looking for a few good people. I know it's only February, but come July 1st, we start a new fiscal year, which means the opportunity to have a new board of directors. But with that, we need people who would be willing to volunteer and participate and be on the board. Certainly, there are offices you could hold. If there's secretary, vice president. Now, vice president is you want to be president. Anybody want to be president? And then secretary, but we also have what's called members at large, which is really, there's no true additional work or accountability other than showing up once a month to the meeting. And it's really important that we have new people and new perspective and new points of view, because as we evolve and we need to continue to evolve, that's what's going to help us do that. So we are looking for a few good people. If you're interested in learning more about being on the board, speak to me or any other board members, raise your hand if you're a board member, have a conversation. But we would love to have some new faces on our board. All right, thank you.
Sorry, there's so many announcements today. So hi, my name is Valerie. I'm the committee chair for the Children and Youth Religious Education Committee, or CYRE for short, or SIRE, as I've been saying it in my head. So if you hear me say SIRE committee, that's what I'm talking about. The teachers and I got together and we have decided to give our RE program a little bit of a rebranding. We have so many more kids now, and we have decided to sort of formalize the groups and what ages are in each group and give the classes some fun new names. So now the nursery kiddos will be referred to as Sparks. The K to 4 group, 4-ish, is Embers. 5 to 8, our tween group is the Flames. And when we have an older teen group, they will be the Blaze. We don't have one yet, but we liked, Megan and I really liked the idea of our chalice flame growing as the kids grow. The reason I say ish is because 4th and 5th graders sometimes belong with the younger group and sometimes belong with the older group. So we will evaluate that on a sort of case by case basis. But we're really excited to see how the program's growing. Thank you.
One last thing. I'm Judy. When I was in Hungary, fall a year ago, I took my friends' children, they were 10 and 12, to an exhibition in Budapest called The Art of the Brick. It's all about Lego. It was actually designed by an American lawyer who went home because he had just hyperactive. So he would, as an adult still, would rearrange Legos. Well, he has stopped being a lawyer and he has taken his creations of Legos around the world. And I saw it in Budapest. This morning reading the paper, I just saw that it's in the Philadelphia Franklin Institute. It is phenomenal. I can show you pictures. It doesn't look like it's cheap. It was only $16 for me over in Budapest. It's not that here. You cannot believe the different art. He's got Whistler's mother, he's got a kiss, he has dinosaurs, he has just a phenomenal amount of different portraits and statues. And at the very end, if it's set up the same way, there's a huge play box and everybody gets to play in the play box. So if you have children, and I can show you pictures, if you're interested, it's at the Franklin Institute. I don't even know how long it was, but it will be. But I was a kid again.
That went really well, everybody. And now it's time for our chalice lighting. Let him volunteer. All right, thanks, guys. Oh, sorry. So we're gonna light our chalice this morning with the words from Gordon B. McKeeman. Deep calls unto deep, joy calls unto joy, Light calls unto light. Let the kindling of this flame rekindle in us the inner light of love, peace, and hope. And as one flame lights another nor grows the less, let us pledge ourselves to be the bearers of light wherever we go. So that same technology that brings us the Zoom and allows us to work from home and connects us to all of our friends all across the world, that same technology, when we're trying to focus in this place together, can be a little distracting. I actually remembered to turn off my own phone today, so kudos to me, if everyone else could do the same. All right, so now we're going to take a deep breath. Feel the weight of your body in the chair. Listen to the sounds in the room. The squeaks of the people shuffling around. Listen to all the whirring of the fan blades. All the small movements that you hear. This is us together. All right, now we're going to listen to the sound of the chimes. See if you can hear it all the way till it goes silent. Takes a surprisingly long time for that one small action to fade. So our opening words this morning are actually an opening story, and it was written by Teresa Honey Youngblood. She starts it with a quote from Emerson. "It is a happy talent to know how to play." She says, "One glorious spring day, I was on a field trip with a group of middle school youth, venturing a short way down Florida National Scenic Trail. We were aiming for a small swimming hole, about a mile in on a new section of the trail. But about halfway there, we heard and then saw an arresting sight up ahead. Two large eastern diamondback rattlesnakes, who upon hearing our group come around the bend, started to raise up and rattle their tails. Their heads were aloft about a half foot off the ground. So that tells you how big they must have been. We felt awed and chastened to have encountered them. Still, after waiting in vain for 10 minutes for them to decide to just, move on off that trail, we turned and went back the way we came, intending to find an alternate route to the spring. Well, the alternate path we chose was through a section of grass that, while free of venomous serpents, was full of very large, very sharp sand spurs, a fact that we somehow missed until we were the whole way in. We could see the main path to the swimming hole ahead, but we had to pick our way through the spurs to get there. Behind us, of course, were the rattlesnakes, and in the midst of our homegrown Scylla and Charybdis, what did the youth do? Well, they started playing. A few of the more athletic people sprinted ahead and then cheered the rest of us as they picked the spurs from their socks and their skin. As one made her way through the pokey grass, she tossed her tennis shoes to a friend who was wearing flip-flops. And a few hands held in a vertical line and danced their way through, saving the two behind from the brunt of the burrs. Neurochemically, panic and euphoria are real close to each other. Blessed are those magic makers, often our children and our youth, and some lucky adults who retain the talent, who can transmute the one to the other in the most unexpected and needed moments. She ends this with a prayer. And this is the prayer that I wanted us to use today to open this service. Gods and goddesses, thank you for mirth, for merrymaking, for jokes and laughter and silliness. Help us not to forget that playfulness is one of your favorite tools. And now we're gonna have our opening hymn, which is 10:10, We Give Thanks. And it's real short, so we're gonna sing it twice through. Now it's time for a story, whether you're young in body or in spirit, you feel free to come on up to the front and use one of the rugs if you want.
Today's story I have for you is called The Sandwich Swap. It all began with a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And it ended with a hummus sandwich. Salma and Lily were best friends at school. They drew pictures together. They played on the swings together. They jumped rope together. And they ate their lunches together. But just what they ate was a little different. Lily ate a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for lunch every day. And Salma had a hummus and pita sandwich every day for lunch. And though Lily never said it out loud, she thought that Salma's sandwich looked weird and yucky. She felt terrible that her friend had to eat an icky chickpea paste every day. Ew. And Lily thought Salma never said it, and although Salma never said it out loud, she thought Lily's sandwich looked strange and gross. She felt it was just awful that her friend had to eat that ooey gooey peanut butter paste every day. Gross. Then one day, Lily just couldn't hold back those pesky thoughts any longer. Your sandwich looks kind of yucky, she blurted out. What did you say? Salma asked, thinking she must have misunderstood her friend. I said your sandwich looks yucky. Salma frowned. She looked down at her thin, soft bread, and she thought of her beautiful, smiling mother as she carefully cut Salma's sandwich into 2 neat halves this morning. Her hurt feelings turned mad. Yeah, well, your sandwich looks gross and it smells bad too, Salma snapped back. Lily looked surprised. She sniffed the thick, squishy bread and thought of her dad in his silly apron, whistling as he cuts Lily's sandwich into 2 perfect triangles that morning. Lily scowled. It doesn't smell bad. Does too. Ew, yuck, gross. That afternoon, the friends did not draw pictures together, they did not swing together, and they did not jump rope together. The next day, Salma ate her lunch at one table and Lily ate her lunch at another. Meanwhile, the peanut butter versus hummus story had spread and everyone began choosing sides. Each side had something not so nice to say about the others. Peanut butter breath, chickpea brains, jelly head, garlic breath. Soon those rude insults had nothing to do with the peanut butter or hummus at all. You're weird. Well, you're stupid. You look funny. You dress dumb. And then it happened. Somebody yelled, "Food fight!" Peanut butter and hummus sandwiches and other lunch favorites began flying back and forth. Between both sides of the lunchroom, they stuck to the walls, they stuck to the ceiling, they stuck to the lunch lady. When the sandwiches were all gone, pudding puffs, applesauce, and carrot sticks took flight. Salma and Lily looked around the room at one another and the splattered room. They felt ashamed at what they saw. They both felt really ashamed when the principal called them into her office after they had helped clean up the mess. The following day, Salma ate her lunch down across from Lily's. The 2 girls nibbled on their sandwiches in silence. Finally, Lily got up the courage to speak. "Would you like to try a bite of my peanut butter and jelly?" Salma grinned. "Sure, why not? Would you like to try my hummus and pita?" Lily laughed. "I'd like that. On the count of 3. Okay, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Yummy. Hey, this is delicious. And this is heavenly. The girls giggled and hugged, and they traded sandwiches. After lunch, Salma and Lily met with their principal again. This time, they were there to suggest a very special event for the whole school. And that is how it began with a peanut butter sandwich and ended with a hummus and pita sandwich.
Jessica Lynn has words for the offering. She says, "We make it possible." She says, "When I come in on Sunday feeling weary, having worn out the snooze button on my alarm clock," guilty. "I come in on Sunday sometimes frightened, having seared my eyes reading the latest news. I come in on Sunday feeling burdened, having fretted about my workday worries. But I leave Sunday service feeling refreshed, having been renewed by the spirit of love and the community that exists here. I leave feeling whole, being lifted up by the words of righteous challenge. I leave feeling energized, ready to continue our fight for peace and justice. This haven, this refuge, this place of worship and wonder exists because we make it so. With our contributions of time and skills and food and love and laughter and money. So please join me in giving so that we can continue to have a place that fortifies and challenges us in trying times." and generosity and receive from love. So this morning's reading is by Pallay, and it's called The Church Where Everything Goes Wrong. And she wrote this when she was a new minister at the new church. And it's from a book called How We Are Called. 6 weeks into the church year, I have realized that I am now the minister of a church where things usually go wrong. This morning, the copy machine jams repeatedly. Oh, we've had that one. The bulletin describing the order of worship is copied with the second page first and also upside down. I have also done that. No one has remembered to turn on the lights in the sanctuary before the service, so it's dark because it's raining outside. The microphone is buzzing and lets out a painful, high-pitched squeal, which makes people wince. We just started the service when someone runs up for a bunch of flowers for the altar, just as someone else runs up with the silk flowers that we use when nobody has flowers for the altar. Okay. Well then, there's laughter and the 2 flower bearers meet at the altar and they decide on the real flowers. But things settle down until the baby starts crying. And then that baby cuts off another baby who starts crying in the back. And usually I love watching the tall, gentle fathers in the back bouncing their babies. But today I just wanted to be quiet and holy and lovely. And things are not shaping up to be quiet and lovely and holy. The woman who's helping with worship gets up and instead of giving the announcements, she introduces the chalice lighting, which comes later. And people say, hey, not yet, which more laughter. The organist starts playing the wrong hymn and a couple of choir members yell over that, wait, wrong one, it's actually number. And then a few minutes later, during the period for prayerful silence, he accidentally falls into the keyboard, causing the organ to emit these horrible gassy noises, shrieks and snorts of laughter. All pretense of Sunday morning decorum is lost, and something inside me, some furious, bossy desire to have my worship service go according to my plan, finally slides free, and I can laugh with them. This will be the first of many times that I laugh at Sunday morning details gone awry. It'll also be the first of many times that I imagine God is watching, looking up or down or over or out from wherever God sits on Sunday mornings, slightly amazed and maybe at a loss for words because we, God's people, are so funny and wonderful and odd all at the same time. In moments like these, I imagine God as a sturdy old woman with her hands on her hips, or maybe a rabbi pulling his long white beard. I imagine God shaking his or her head and saying, what in the world are they doing over there? This is what they call church. But I also imagine a God who is touched, maybe a little honored by our efforts, however halting, to worship and give praise. I imagine a God who is moved by our attempts to care for one another and to name the things we know as holy. There is a warmth in this congregation, a simple friendliness that shines through the fumblings and the failures, a love that makes those ragged edges smooth. I've always wanted to believe, really believe, that our mistakes are not the most important parts of us. I've always wanted to believe that kindness and compassion matter more than anything. And I can believe that here. Now we'll sing number 327, Joy Thou Goddess. And again, keeping in tradition, I have chosen something we've never sung before, but this one has the tune of Ocean to it, so you'll recognize it. It's number 327. Sorry, yes, two of them. I was just pointing out that two of the verses are in German, and I don't speak German. Maybe some of you speak German, but we're just gonna see Rick speaks German. But we are just gonna sing the 2 English verses today. Maybe someday we'll get that German down. All right, so this morning's talk. My Little Pony laughter. So first, a very short recap for those of you who did not see last month's service. My Little Pony Friendship is Magic is a cartoon that was created by Warren Faust. And it ran for about 10 years from 2010 to 2020. And I ended up watching a lot of it because I have children who were born in 2010 and watch it still now, even though it's 2024. It was loosely based on the My Little Pony toys that were created by Hasbro in the 1980s. However, Faust intentionally wanted to create stories where female characters could be fully rounded people with diverse interests, rather than being pigeonholed into one type of generic girl who would often have to be the perfect person, because if she wasn't, then she was giving a bad name to girls everywhere. Think of Smurfette, the only girl with this whole blue, yes, she had to be the perfect girl. That was just the way it was. So Faust created a group of 6 girls who are all different, but who all care about and support each other. And both despite their differences and because of their differences. She created girls who were allowed to have flaws and who were allowed to overcome their flaws. And she sent these girls on adventures where the villains were just as complex as the heroes. And she showed that when given an opportunity, girls can save the world too. So that's the overview of My Little Pony. And the character we're focusing on today is Pinkie Pie. Now, Pinkie Pie is a bright pink pony who has very big curly hair and a huge personality. She loves parties and fun and making people feel welcome and not just accepted, but celebrated. Like, she's very famous for having a party cannon. So like she can throw a party at the drop of a hat because, you know, she like sets off the party cannon. And then there's like party stuff everywhere and confetti, and it's great. So when she was creating My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, Lauren Faust had some concerns about whether Hasbro would approve of her concepts of some of the characters. In an interview with Equestria Daily's Tech Calamity, which I am 100% sure is somebody's pony name, somebody's brony name, not just a pony name. Faust said, characterizations of Pinkie Pie and Rainbow Dash were a worry to some as well. It was thought that Rainbow was too boyish, we went over that last week, and our target audience last month, and our target audience wouldn't relate to her. And it was also thought that Pinkie Pie's personality would be irritating and off-putting. And so Faust said that she spent a lot of time trying to reassure everyone that they would be lovable characters. In the case, she said, in the case of Pinkie, once everyone was finally comfortable that she wasn't annoying, we got to make her as zany as I had always imagined her as the season went on. It's a testament to Hasbro that they put their faith in us as they did. And so in another description, Lauren Faust said on Twitter, so this is now canon because Lauren Faust said it, that Pinkie Pie could be described as having ADHD. She has a busy brain, she's always moving from one thing to another. There's one episode that I found that really shows her constant motion, and that's the episode Too Many Pinkie Pies. So the plot of this one is Pinkie Pie has more commitments than she has time. Who doesn't sympathize with that? And she's afraid of missing out, and she's afraid of letting her friends down by like not going to whatever it was they invited her to. So she goes to this magic lake and she creates a double of herself. So there's 2 Pinkie Pies, so she can go to everything. And she's really excited about this. And she tells the other Pinkie Pie, well, you go to this and I'll go to this. And then when we get back together, we'll exchange stories and we'll both know how awesome it was. I wish I could do that. So there are then 2 bubbly pink ponies bouncing around town. But soon her double has the same problem where she wants to go to more things than she has people to go to. So, you know, she has the same solution. Hey, I can just go down to that lake and make myself another Pinkie Pie. And then there'll be 2 of them, and then we can go. So then it goes from having like, oh, there's just a double to having 2 doubles. And then each of those doubles creates a double. So that's 4 doubles. And then each of those doubles creates a double. And then before you know it, it's 256 doubles and they're all running around town. So there are so many Pinkie Pies that even that like all of Ponyville is overwhelmed, and even Pinkie Pie is having trouble telling which one is her. And Pinkie Pie in this episode, you can tell, like, we can all tell as the viewers, because the Pinkie Pies who are not Pinkie Pie are all bouncing around being Pinkie Pie, and the real Pinkie Pie is running around the background going, I don't know what's going on. Does anybody even know who I am? So she's uncharacteristically somber in the background. And she really feels that no one can tell the difference between her, the real Pinkie Pie, and all those bouncy, fun, but vapid doubles that are out there. And so at the end of the episode, her friends get together and they figure out who is the real Pinkie Pie. And the way they figure it out is by having all of the doubles, like all the Pinkie Pies, they put them in a big room and they have them all do something really boring, which I believe was watching paint dry. And only the real Pinkie Pie can manage to do the task, because only the real Pinkie Pie is more than a shallow reflection of what people see on the outside. And I love this particular story, because who among us hasn't felt like we need to perform a particular persona in public? I know I have. And I have also, like Pinkie Pie, felt like, you know, sometimes maybe no one can distinguish me from the reflection. No one can tell what's really me underneath. So we've established Pinkie Pie is more than just comic relief. But why link Pinkie Pie to a free and responsible search for truth and meaning? So let me ask, does anybody, and actually just raise your hands if you have things that you think about. When you hear free and responsible search for truth and meaning, what do you think about first? Anybody?
And reflection.
Mhm.
I'm reading all the great books, the Bible, all the great books.
One more, anybody else? Okay, two more.
I just think of UUFP, because that's one of our principles. Here at many times. Exploring to community.
Yeah. Those are all like really good, solid things that you think about. But to me, they all sound a little bit somber, a little bit sober. They all sound very quiet, kind of internal. What it brings to mind for me is visions of walking endlessly down this road that stretches into the distance and looking for truth and meaning way out there is a mirage. Or, you know, Moses wandering the desert for 40 years before being given the word of God at Mount Sinai. Or that steep trail of what David Brooks calls the second mountain, that quest for a vocation that adds meaning to our lives. Searching responsibly for truth and meaning does not sound like a barrel of laughs. Well, some of you may remember that my mom was a minister. And one day, my mom did a workshop with the kids at her church where they were doing simple craft. They had a bunch of magazines and they had to cut out the pictures and words from the magazine, and then they would stick them on a like a 2x2 piece of cardstock and cover that thing with some contact paper, slap the magnet on the back, boom, refrigerator magnet, and really goes. The one that my mom made, and she gave it to me, she made one that just had the tail of the whale as the picture, as if someone had tried to take a picture of a whale coming out of the ocean, but they missed. And the words she put on it were, "Don't postpone joy." Now, I feel like she made this magnet a little bit before she got sick, but I felt those words so much more after she got sick. There wasn't time to postpone anything. I had this magnet on my own refrigerator for years. It fell apart in 2023 sometime. But every time I saw it, I would think about her and I would remember all that joy and all that light that she brought to the world. She brought light to me and my sister. She brought light and joy to all the people who knew her. I think about how sad I am that my kids never got to meet her. There are lots of things in life that are worth procrastinating, but joy is not one of them. Don't save it for later. So when I was looking at materials for this talk, I was searching up quotes for laughter. And my search brought up a ton of those live, laugh, love plaques that people like to put up on the wall. And my instinct was to kind of, this makes me a bad person, kind of sneer at that decor and call it kind of basic, like a vanilla scented candle or a caramel monk from Starbucks. But why is it basic to remind yourself that life should be full of laughter and love? What's wrong with that? Is it the Protestant underpinnings of American culture that sees value in labor and expects us to abjure entertainment as if we're living under Cromwell? In case it's been a long time since history class for anybody and you need a pointer to place that reference, historylearning.com says Cromwell ruled England from 1653 to 1658, and during that time banned sports, closed theaters and inns, canceled Christmas. He was a Calvinist, believed that hard work is the route to heaven. Okay, that's explaining my jokes, sorry. So what the website Know Your Mean says about the phrase live, laugh, love is, the quote is inspired by a 1904 poem, Success, by Bessie Anderson Stanley, which opens, he has achieved success who has lived well, laughed often, and loved much. This quote has been misattributed to Ralph Waldo Emerson, who once wrote something similar. Okay, Know Your Mean, that's great. So why do people find it so offensive when someone says live, laugh, love? So various Reddit comments and Urban Dictionary definitions boil it down to the decor is so ubiquitous that the words themselves have become meaningless. Except being Reddit and Urban Dictionary, they say the same thing and not very nice ways. I mean, they're funny, they're not very nice. Most of the people I know who care enough to put up live, laugh, love signs in their house, well, first of all, they have much nicer houses than I do, but second of all, they seem to genuinely want to remind themselves to live and laugh and love. So when they come into their house from being outside in the rest of the world where they may be feeling defeated or overlooked, and they can look at their wall and see, that's right, that's what life should be about. It should be about living and laughter and the love we find. And I think that's wonderful to remind yourself of that. And also I think that Starbucks caramel mock is basic, but tastes good. Fight me on that one. So digging deeper into Oliver Cromwell's biography in its Encyclopedia Britannica, he's not so offensive either. As a commander in the army, he was a fair leader. While it was true that he had a really strict code of conduct, he punished swearing and drinking and infighting and deserting. He also insisted that his troops have good training, fair treatment, and regular pay, which was not something, like they had to mention that because that wasn't something that everyone cared about. Although he himself was a Calvinist, he believed in religious tolerance. One thing he believed was that ordinary individuals, not just religious leaders, could have a relationship with God. So he was a proponent of the Book of Common Prayers, but also under his rule, Quakers were allowed to practice freely, which was not a thing usually. He allowed churches to choose their own ministers. That's something that we still do today. That's something that we think of as a basic right, but that was something that he was a proponent of that wasn't the usual back then. He also invited Jews back into the country after they had been kicked out. He believed in legal reform. Under his code of justice, there were only 3 capital crimes as opposed to the multitude of capital crimes that were previous. So under his code of justice, only treason, rebellion, and murder were capital crimes. And the sports that he banned, well, among those sports were things like bear baiting. We've banned bear baiting. Are we some kind of terrible society? And he did also ban Christmas, but the thing is that he banned Christmas for the same reason that lots of people right now are trying to ban Christmas. It's like, Christmas is so capitalized, oh my goodness, people should really be thinking about Christ in Christmas. Now granted, he did not put that on a bumper sticker, he made it law, but it's one of those things that, oh yeah, I know people who do that, and that's okay, it doesn't make them a terrible person. But when you hear Cromwell, you think, oh, that guy. So we humans have a tendency to reduce everything to absolutes. Cromwell was a deeply religious person with a strict code of ethics, therefore he must have had no fun. But when we search a little more, when we look a little bit more responsibly for truth and meaning, we find that there was a whole person under there who cared deeply about fairness, he cared deeply about education, and he enjoyed music and horseback riding. So Pinkie Pie is zany and funny and lightens the mood. But that means that that can mean that we don't take her seriously and that we don't value her contributions. And I think sometimes we're afraid to be zany and funny and lighthearted because we think that people will devalue our contributions. So there's an episode of My Little Pony where there are these adorable little bugs called Paris sprites who come in all sorts of colors and who live in the Everfree Forest, which is this magical forest just outside of Ponyville. And Fluttershy, who's one of the ponies, thinks that one is so cute that she brings it home and she feeds it, and then it burps out another Paris sprite immediately. And as soon as they eat, they burp out another Paris sprite. So just like the Pinkie Pie problem, now we have the Paris sprite problem, where each single Paris sprite can burp out another Paris sprite at any time. So you go from having one cute little thing to having hordes of them that eat everything in sight. So all of the friends, all the main six, are trying to figure out what to do about the Paris sprites. And through the whole episode, Pinkie Pie keeps saying, can you help me find this musical instrument? I really, really need it. Because, and then they cover up and they say, we have to do this thing. Well, it turns out Pinkie Pie was collecting all these instruments because the best way to deal with Paris sprites is to lead them Pied Piper style back into the Everfree Forest. So she was collecting all these instruments so that she could be a one person band, a one pony band, and do and get back into the Evergreen Forest. And all of her friends had just been cutting her off every time they wanted, like every time she tried to explain why she needed help. They were conflating her personality with her intent. And her nature is joyful and boisterous, but that doesn't mean that her actions are thoughtless and silly. We may dismiss laughter as frivolous sometimes, but I mean, how many of you have gotten news from Jon Stewart or Trevor Noah? Yeah, and how many of us enjoy the social reporting and social commentary on John Oliver's Last Week Tonight or the Weekend Update portion of Saturday Night Live? Sure, they make us laugh, but that doesn't mean that we're not still learning. It doesn't mean we're not finding truth and meaning in what they say. And I'm betting for many of you, especially for you teachers out there, you're trying to make all of your learning fun. The people who make learning fun are the teachers that kids remember. Even if they teach you to be responsible and check your facts and test your hypothesis, like that's the thing that people remember. That's the thing that people hold on to in their brains. The joy, the laughter, the true connections with others, that's part of the meaning too. And I heard somebody say that when they're thinking of true search for responsibility and free and responsible search for truth and meaning. I heard somebody say connection. And that's really, really part of it. That joy, that laughter, those connections, that is part of the meaning. So maybe you're not out there on your own twig like Pinkie Pie, but that doesn't mean you can't add her joy to your own life. As Pinkie Pie says, laughs don't come in barrels. They come inside you as your body's response to delight. We all have the potential to be delighted. We are always engaging in a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. But please don't postpone joy until after you catch that distant mirage. Please remember to live and laugh and love all the way through that journey. That's my wish for all of you. So our last hymn today is For the Beauty of the Earth. And I always think of this hymn as more of a celebration of nature and then connected to like Principle 7. But actually, when you read the words, there's a lot of joy in there. So number 20. The benediction. Oh, sorry, no, we're gonna extinguish the chalice first. All right. Thank you. So please join me in reading the chalice extinguishing words. We extinguish this chalice flame, but not the light of its done. The warmth of community or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and in our hands until we are together again. I'm going to close the service with a prayer called the Celtic Lorica by Mowrer. She says, Spirit of blessing, be with us in the ordinariness of our days. May hope's light guard us and keep cynicism from our hearts. May the energy of laughter build endurance for the dark times of our lives. May creativity's vision grant the possibility of seeing old relationships with new eyes. May the oil of healing keep us from anger or hardness or despair. May the mantle of humility give courage to admit when we're wrong. May compassion's loom weave in us the discipline to forgive. May patience help us bear in mind that ours is not the only scale of time. May the flame of justice be a beacon for the choices we must make. May peace be ever in us and sustain our stressful days. Spirit of blessing, be with us in the ordinariness of our days. So amen, shalom, salam, blessed be. Will you please join me in listening to the full salute?
You looks like you're guarding the.